All right, we are live. How's it going, Tim?
Hello, hello, hello.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, how you feeling over there?
Good. And you?
Well, I got COVID like I don't know, 5 days ago,
Yeah,
4 or 5 days ago, but I'm
yeah.
feeling pretty great.
That's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
one day didn't feel so good, and then uh, got that Paxlovid, and would recommend it to everybody. That stuff is awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, I guess for some reason it doesn't let. I'm no doctor, so don't listen to me, but it I think it doesn't allow it to replicate or something like that. But
Yeah.
whatever it does what it needs to do, and I feel okay. Whole family got it, so it was just worse having to be a little bit sick and take care of the kids. So
Yeah. Yeah, I can
you know
imagine.
they don't even know how to like hawk loogies. That's the problem.
I can imagine.
They're like coughing, like spit that out. They're like, no, that's not how you spit that out.
Yeah.
Anyway, anyway, I'm feeling good.
That's
We're
good.
here. I think Aaron is gonna join us in a bit. Chana is, I think he's still on his way back because he had some family stuff to do also. You
Mhm.
know, I think I don't know. He posted on his Instagram that his wife was doing like a bodybuilding competition, so that's pretty awesome.
Mhm.
Here's Aaron. He's gonna be in a second.
Cool.
What's up to everybody in the chat? Let's see who's here. Who's here? We got Kamish. Kamish, I won't tell your, I won't put you on blast and tell you your secret, but you put it out there. Reverend Slim, what's going on? Uh, Medieval 1980, Felly. All right. True Voice of Reason. What's up, everybody? Van Ghoul, AA. What's up? Uh, yeah, I'll let Aaron pop in when he's ready. He looks like he's still setting up here. Who else? And then Tim Perry. Yeah. Speaking of health things, I think who was it? Reverend Slim was saying that he has a kidney stone. Ooh, I don't wish that upon anybody.
Me neither.
That's rough.
Have you had one, Aaron?
No, I couldn't imagine.
Oh,
You
ooh.
have no idea then.
It's a bond. You know what I mean? Like when women give birth and like there's like a bond between them and others who've like been through that.
Mhm.
Kidney stones. Like yeah, okay.
Been there.
Okay.
Been
That's
there.
that's where it's at, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, you should do it. You should try it. Well, no, never,
Just
never try it.
dehydrate yourself and however the
Drink
hell.
lots of sodas and
Yeah.
what else? Coffee, soda. I don't know.
Sodium, maybe? I don't know.
Sodium. So, Aaron, did you get your new camera yet? No.
No,
No. Okay.
let's show up on Thursday.
All right. All right.
That's where all the cool kids come out to play.
Kidney stones bond is real. Yeah,
There you go.
exactly.
Hey, I recognize that guy.
I had what is he saying over here? I had a death grip on the doctor's counter, and they're like, "Yeah, you need a CT scan."
Oof,
Yeah.
Ouch.
nobody wants that. Death
Oh,
grips and CT scans.
here, Josh seems to know everything about it. He's like, calcium oxalate is usually what they are these days. Spinach is the highest. So
Perfect.
there
So
you go.
now I have an excuse for not eating spinach.
Popeye. Um, stick to lettuce if you're getting tingling. Okay. So what's up, man? What's new with you, Aaron?
Not much, man. Just trying to get caught up here to some of these chats and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Same old, same old. What about you?
I was just saying how I'm feeling pretty good despite catching the vid.
Feeling
Finally,
good.
man. Like that's the first time I wanted to be like the last person on earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Trying to be real safe. But the problem is I think the places that we take the kids. You know what I mean? We want them to have
Right.
fun, and those places are just other kids are not like the cleanest. Let's just say.
Right. Unfortunately. Yeah, I'm surprised that that's the first time that anybody in your family has caught it, given how often you frequent it. I mean, it's not like you go every day, but
Yeah, we go out quite a lot, but I always wear a mask. And like, I was actually talking to Charles Sprinkle, and he's like, "Yeah, I was surprised. You know, I'm surprised you got it." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, the kids. Say no more, kids.
yeah, they
Yeah.
touch everything. They put it on their faces.
Yeah, yeah." And you know what it is? Sometimes you see these kids, and they really they're like, I remember seeing this kid, and he had like straight up snot coming out of his nose, right?
Yeah,
Like, ugh. Ugh. And then he's like, he goes to the mom, right? He goes to the mom, and she's like, she does something and looks straight at him, and then lets him go back. Like, are you not gonna wipe his face? Like, wipe? Like, there's a thing right there. I don't get it. I don't know what's going on.
yeah.
So, keeping up with the Joneses, he said, "Joe being safe. Also, Joe, let's go to Disney every weekend."
That's about right.
You know, a funny little story also is like, that morning when I tested, right? I'm like, finally, this thing finally got me. I messaged Angela, and that was the day we were actually supposed to go to Disneyland, right? And so my one kid, she was crying because she was worried about me, right? And the other kid was just crying because we couldn't go to Disneyland. So, give you an idea. Different personalities.
Right, for sure. Different things are important to different ones,
Yep.
Oh man.
So we can answer some questions today too. Let's see here. Dr. Roboto says Denon 3800H is the perfect device for no BS measured side-by-side comparison of Odyssey versus Dirac live on the same hardware. Any takers? Okay. Yeah. I don't know if there's a question in there somewhere. Any takers? What does that mean?
Side-by-side comparison of Odyssey versus Dirac live on the same hardware. Okay. As he's just saying that, does it have both Odyssey
done
and...
it? Yeah.
Right.
Oh, has anybody done that comparison of Odyssey versus Dirac? Yeah.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
At least on that unit.
Yeah, well, I've done it before on two different products. I think I have a pretty good idea of the sound differences.
Yeah.
Same hardware. Yeah. I mean, they just do different things. So their target curve is different. The target curve on Odyssey has less bass for the most part. The new version of Dirac allows you to adjust the bass and treble. So yeah, the target curve by default will probably have more bass on the Dirac one. Also, Dirac does their bass correction, and I feel like that kind of makes stuff sound more cohesive. Like the blend with the sub, it does a good job of those sorts of things. So it's noticeably more like, I don't know how to explain. How do you explain when the phase is correct? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. Do you know what I'm saying though? Like when you get the phase right, let's like.
Right. Yeah, it sounds good. It's hard to explain what sounds good sounds like. It's easy to explain it's easier to explain what sounds bad sounds like, because you can say like, it sounded bloated or boomy or whatever, but if it sounds good, you're just like, yeah, it sounds good.
Well, how about this? When something's out of phase, right?
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like phasey and like stuff is not snapped into place. Sounds like diffuse almost, right?
Right.
When everything is phase aligned throughout the frequency range, then you never hear that. That's it.
Right.
So it's more like the lack of a bad sound than anything. So yeah, I think default Dirac sounds better. Odyssey has that mid-range compensation. I don't know why they do that. And I really am starting to believe that the lack of bass for Odyssey has more to do with that they expect you to use their dynamic EQ.
Mm-hmm.
So that adds a lot of bass back into it. But I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't know if I want my bass to change automatically, which is something that I mentioned in the car remember I tuned my car and I called Aaron. I'm like, so what do you do when you have it tuned perfectly when it's parked and then you drive off? And of course, now you have road noise and all kinds of other noise, engine noise, things like that are competing in the bass area, right? More so than the higher frequencies in my particular vehicle. So what that ends up sounding like in my vehicle is that the bass sounds weak. And I was like, so what do you do about this, Aaron? He's like, turn on the loudness compensation, I guess. You can try that.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I don't want to do that.
Cheat.
Yeah, I just feel like, I feel like that's dirty. You know what I mean? I spent all this time EQing it, and then I'm just gonna hit this button, and I'm like, I don't even know if it does it right.
Yeah. Well, like, as long as it works for you.
Yeah.
As long as it sounds good to you.
As long, yeah. So anyway, I think it's kind of the same principle. I guess use it if that's all you got, but with a home, I wouldn't recommend it because you can, it's not like it's gonna suddenly get all loud all of a sudden. And if it does, I would recommend that you can use that dynamic volume instead.
Yeah.
Where it just kind of uses some compression to make all the sounds more similar in volume without changing the actual tonality. Anyway, what other questions we got here? Tim is starring some.
Yeah, I started some.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Here we go. Felly. There you go. This is for you, Aaron.
Oh, I finished it, and
I thought you said we're gonna read them. You said
oh, sorry, Aaron. Whatever happened to your KEF R3 and ScanSpeak 10-inch mid-bass project? So that's a DIY speaker that I made like maybe almost 10 years ago. Maybe it was 2013, 2014, something like that. I think that's right. And I used the KEF R3 concentric driver and ScanSpeak 10-inch mid-bass driver. And let's see here. So I built it, ran it all active, designed the crossovers and all that stuff. And I honestly don't remember why. Because I went to the baffle wall and I found the JBL Pro stuff that was for sale. It was from an old theater in town. So this church had bought out the old theater, and their sound guy had taken all the speakers out of all the theater rooms and then put them into storage, and he was selling them off. So when I had that opportunity, it changed everything in my home theater. So I went a completely different route. I wound up taking the drivers out of the speaker, and I sold them off, and then I just threw away the wood. So that was it. I don't think it lasted probably longer than 6 months.
How did it sound?
I thought it sounded good, but I'm biased. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I got to learn some CAD software in the process, and some, I can't remember it's like a sound CAD type process or software that you can load in the frequency response measurements, and then you load in the enclosure dimensions and all this stuff, and it will build the sound profiles for you. And then you can build the crossovers inside the software and then actually go and build it externally. But like I said, I wound up running it active instead of passive because I just didn't want to spend the money on passive. And active DSP was a lot cheaper than what I was going to try to have to build passively.
Did your JBLs, did they have like that type of like paper cone that looks like it has like little ridges?
Yeah.
And then like the surround is like little baby surround,
little accordion.
Yeah, is that how it looked? Because every time I see those, I'm like, oh, those look weak. You know what I mean? Like just something in my mind. I look at them like, nah, those don't have any excursion.
They don't. That's the thing. They're not designed to have excursion because the sensitivity on the 15s was like 97 dB. And I think I had them crossed over. I had the enclosures tuned to somewhere around 60 hertz, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So they're basically like mid-bass, and then the subwoofers took over from there. But dude, that system was stupid loud. The horns were 117 dB sensitivity. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was actually in a theater, a real theater. Yeah. So of course they were super sensitive. They got ridiculously loud.
It's interesting also is I don't know how true it is, but I read somewhere that a lot of these theaters they're not even like really flat down to 20 hertz. And I found that kind of hard to believe.
Yeah.
But like, if you think about it, they're pretty big, right? And you'd need a lot of air movement to hit 20 hertz at a, flat at least. So I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know how much truth there is to that. What do you think? You think you're hearing clean down to 20 hertz in those theaters?
I don't know, man. I just went and saw the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 yesterday, and they had a trailer for Oppenheimer, and which has a ton of LFE, like just ridiculous. And every time it will go that really low bass that rattles stuff, it would rattle the stuff on the screen. Like you would hear things rattling in the theater. So I'm like, that's the kind of distortion that you can hear, right? You won't hear necessarily like the low bass distortion, but you're going to hear that kind of external mechanical vibration distortion. And it's super annoying. I hate that stuff. That's super annoying.
Huh.
But it's a nice theater. Otherwise, that's the only thing, whenever that LFE kicks in, it makes me want to go to other theaters, but it's a good one. So,
all right. We got another one here. It says, Aaron got some Triads LCRs.
Yes, I did. Is it behind me? Yeah. That's one of them.
What is this company Triad?
Triad, they do like a lot of custom installation type stuff. And I don't even know if you can buy them direct. I think you have to go through a dealer. I'm not sure. I think you have to go through a dealer. But the thing is that there's a long thread on AVS forum about them. And there's been a lot of talk the past number of years about people trying to get measurements for them. And for one reason or another, they're unable to. And most of the time, the feedback on the thread is that they will email the company, the manufacturer, and say, we want this data. And the manufacturer, for whatever reason, won't provide it to them. So this exact one was tested in a speaker shootout that occurred in Colorado Springs a couple weekends ago. And they asked, the guys who put it on, asked if I would be willing to measure it. So I was like, sure, no problem. So I just measured it this weekend. And the results are, they're not bad, but the speaker pairs $6,600. It's two 8-inch woofers, I think they say 5.5 mid-range, and then I guess a 1-inch dome tweeter on a flat baffle. There's really nothing spectacular about the design. It's just it's painted flat black. The response linearity is not bad, but there's a couple dips in it that I'm just like, the directivity is okay. The output's good. It's designed to be used with a crossover. So it uses two 8-inch woofers. And the first thing you think is, oh, it's going to get low. But they spec it down to 50 hertz on their website. And you think, okay, well, then it's going to get loud. Well, they spec sensitivity of 92 dB, which is good, but my measurements show 89 dB. And that's 3 dB off. It's not like I'm 1 dB off or 2 dB off. 3 dB off is a pretty good bit. There is one point where it does hit 92 dB, but I'm like, maybe that's how they're doing it. But honestly, my just overall assessment of it is it's not a bad speaker. If you have EQ, it can certainly be made to be a really good speaker. But at $6,600 for the pair, the first thing I thought of when I was looking at the data was the Arendal 1961 tower. The Arendal is better linearity. It's just as good output because it features, I think, 2 6.5 or 3 6.5 inch mid-bass mid-woofer. It's like a 2.5 way design. The only thing that the Arendal doesn't do as well, in my personal subjective opinion, is it's a narrower sound profile. So it's about plus or minus 80 degrees, like in the frontal hemisphere, whereas these are a little bit wider. So they're about, I'd say 50, 60, plus or minus 120 or so. So it's about 60 degrees to one side, 60 degrees to the other side.
And that's not necessarily like always a pro, right?
Yeah,
depending on
it's
your
not
room.
right. Yeah, that's just a preference. I prefer a little bit wider radiating speaker, so I would rank it higher in that regard over the Arendal. But the Arendals are, I think they're $1,699 for the pair, as opposed to $1,600 or $6,600 for the pair of these. And I'm just like, and I haven't even looked to see what other speakers I could legitimately compare these Triads against. The Arendal was the first thing that popped in my head. So there are probably other ones out there that I would maybe say, I think these other ones are a better value, right? It's not like the performance is terrible, but if you're talking about in terms of cost, I think you could do better.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'm a hater because when I see expensive speakers that don't perform well, I'm almost like, yes, I knew it. I knew
right.
it. I don't know. There's just certain brands that I see people talking about that I'm just like, I judge based on like how it looks, right? I look at the design. I'm like, yeah, it's expensive. What is that?
Yeah.
Right. And just like I said with your JBL, I'm like, yeah, that cone doesn't look like it has very much excursion. You're like, yeah, it doesn't.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So I think you just kind of get used to, I don't know. You have an idea just by looking at the speaker. A lot of times when you have more experience, you're like, all right, look at that. That looks like a heavy cone, stuff like
Mhm.
that. But yeah. So it doesn't sound like it's horrible, but it doesn't sound like blew your mind either.
Yeah, I was hoping for better just based off the lore of the
Yeah.
brand. Like so many people are talking about them, but the manufacturer won't provide any measurement data or anything like that. And even the dealers, there were a couple of dealers that were saying they can't even get that data from the manufacturer. And I was like, well, that's weird. So as far as I know, this is the first Triad that's actually got published or will have published anechoic data. There was a test from Sound and Vision some years back where they tested out the platinum version. So this is the Triad Gold LCR.
Okay. They're not going to get weird, right? Like, oh, we didn't want that information put out there.
I mean, somebody bought the speaker and sent it to me. So
they're not going to pull a Bose, right?
I mean, I would hope not. It's just data. Matter of fact, I mean, a lot of people can use it for their own good. A couple of people already are actually.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of people message me about it and ask them, what would you do based on this? Because for right now, it's just posted on my Patreon. It's not posted publicly anywhere yet.
Okay.
Which is a perk. Hey, shout out to myself. If you want to see data and sneak peeks of what I'm doing in the background ahead of time, join my Patreon, patreon.com/Aaron's Audio Corner.
Yeah. And if you would have thought of, joining mine, just join Aaron's instead, because I don't do anything on mine. So
do you not?
No, I'm too busy trying to do just the normal YouTube one.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you, man.
But yeah, so that kind of is a good transition into the measurement of the Cali Audio IN-UNF ultra near field, and you're saying, hey, they're just measurements, right?
Right.
And I think this is one case where you kind of have to be careful about how you read into it, right? Like you have to know enough to say,
for
like,
sure.
oh, okay.
You can't take things out of context, for sure.
Yeah, but still, they're still very useful, though. You know what I mean?
For sure.
I thought it was hilarious when you told me that, like, the guys at Cali Audio, they saw you like, what's the thing on what are the speakers on the stick?
I saw the measurement on a stick. That's not how it's supposed to be used, right? I was like, yes, I'm aware.
I think that's hilarious, though.
Yeah, they were probably like, oh my god, this guy,
dude,
he's about to publish data. He has no idea what he's doing. They're gonna ruin us.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So yeah, we're gonna do our collab soon, right?
Yeah.
My part is done. I did my listening, so
look out for that. I've done my listening. I mean, if we really needed to, we could theoretically do it right now. I just, I don't really want to, if I'm being honest.
Whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, last time I mentioned Anthony Grimani being on, hopefully today, but it's actually going to be next Monday from what he's saying. So
yeah, I'm not Anthony.
Wondering, I didn't forget. We didn't forget.
Yeah, I'm not Anthony.
Hey.
Yeah. Anthony Grimani, hey, what's up? How's the chocolates? You like the chocolates? Isn't that what they talk?
Yeah, that's what him and Gene talk about a lot, or I've heard them talk about a lot.
Yeah, talking about chocolates, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, super chat.
All right, so let's see here. What is this? Dr. Roboto says, yeah, on the same hardware. Oh, this is referring to the Odyssey thing, right?
Yeah.
All right, what else we got here? I think, there was a super chat.
Yep.
The Real. Thank you for the super chat. He says, when EQ your subs on mini DSP 2x4, does Odyssey need to be on or off? I feel it would cancel out using both Odyssey and EQ from DSP. All right. Does it need to be? Well, here, let me just say, I would recommend that if you're going to use a mini DSP 2x4, what you want to do is just choose one. Like, what do you want to use to do the EQ? Because they both can do EQ. So the reason why you might want to use the mini DSP is because you have 4 outputs. So if you have more than 1 or 2 subs, then you need to use the mini DSP. In which case, don't do any EQ on Odyssey, right? If you only have 1 or 2 subs, yeah, depending on your AVR, then you could possibly use this. But yeah, some only have 1 sub out, some have 2 sub outs. For the most part, if you have a mini DSP, just use that, right? You'll be better off in the long run if you decide to add more subs. So I think that answers the question.
Which would you use first, though, if you're going to use both?
If you're going to use both, what you want to do is here's a case when you'd want to use both. Is if you use mini DSP and you use something like multi-sub optimizer, right? Which is you're taking, let's say, up to 4 subs and you're making them all work together, meaning they all have different levels, different delay, different EQs per sub, depending on where they're placed and how it interacts with your every one of your listening positions. So multi-sub optimizer combines all your subs to work as one, right? What I usually recommend is EQ that to flat. So in multi-sub optimizer, there's an option to put in a target curve. Don't put in any target curve, right? Make it flat. That way, you can go into Odyssey and then set the target curve there. That way, if you decide to change up your desired target curve for whatever reason, well, at least you're starting with a flat curve that you can mold to whatever you want, right? If you had built it into that curve, then you'd have much more of an issue trying to undo that later on. You'd probably have to redo the whole thing. So that would be the case where you'd use both. So hopefully that helps. What else we have here? James Wynn with 4 subwoofer setup with 2 in front and 2 in back. What are your thoughts of putting the back pair in reverse? 2 in the front, 2 in the back. In reverse.
Like reverse polarity?
Yeah, I don't know why you'd want to do that, because I think I know where you're going, where you're trying to maybe like make the wave pass all the way through, something like that, like where it's like, I don't know. It doesn't sound like a good idea though. I don't know. What do you think would happen if you just put them,
you're going to create a big null right in the middle, right?
Where they both combine?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see the benefit there of turning them out of, yeah, but that's easy enough to try. If he's just saying like flip the polarity on the subs because they're physically behind him because he's wondering if it will work better, try it. That's easy enough to try.
Yeah, I think what ends up mattering the most is that they're working together in some way, right? We don't know if flipping the polarity would actually make it better or worse. It could be that they work better that way. But
he does say yes, exactly. Let the wave pass on through.
Yeah, so you're trying to do like kind of what the Triads is doing with the wave front. That's kind of what I was thinking. I don't know that it's as simple as what you're saying. It's Aaron, like an isobaric. How you have the 2 woofers, right? And then like they're kind of moving together.
Yeah.
But you imagine you're inside. I don't think it works exactly like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem. It's not clicking with me in my brain right now, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have the answer to that one, but I know what you're trying to do with the wavefront. I've seen some of the guys at Triads mentioning that.
And he does continue on saying, right now I have the front on 180 and the rear subs on 0 phase. So, yeah.
Yeah, you just don't want it to cancel though, right? All you want to do is you want to make sure, here's the most important thing, is that when you're at your main listening position, regardless of where you have that phase, you want it at the place where you get the most sound, right? I think that's the goal.
Or the most even.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I did speak with somebody at Wisdom Audio, so yeah. Not that I'm gonna get any speakers to review from them. I mean, that would be cool though.
What did you talk to them about?
They were asking about the calibration toolkit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because surprise to me, they do a bunch of calibration for people.
Yeah.
And, they were just saying how they need some tools, to do stuff the way that they like to do it. So I'm like, we had a good conversation and it was interesting, some more former Harman guys.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, man.
Man, like who's not from Harman?
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? There's a lot of them.
Yeah. That's like the school to go to, you know what I mean? Like if it were a school, that's like the school to go to.
It's like the MIT, of audio.
Yep. Luckily, they're pretty close by. Next time you're in the area, we should go visit.
I know it, man. I wish I had last year.
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool. Let's say here. What's the next question here? Abe says on a 9.2.6 setup with mostly more movie use over music. 9.2.6. Okay, so 2 subs, 6 heights. Would one benefit more from Anthem Arc or a Dirac system? I haven't tried Anthem Arc. Have you, Tim?
No.
No.
Aaron, have you?
No.
Don't you have access to that though?
I do, but I mean, I don't have any speakers right now to use it for. So
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it should matter. At the end of the day, I have to do a little plug for my Magic Beans, but as long as you get your target curve correct and your time alignment and your levels all set properly, which you can use our toolkit for. A lot of people have been saying, hey, I've been using the Spatial Audio Calibration toolkit and man, my system sounds great because the levels are correct and the delays are correct. Like, yeah, that's kind of important. So whether it's movies or music, I never really got that because your system doesn't know whether it's a movie or music. And a lot of movies have music in them. So, if music plays in a movie, it should sound good. Yeah, to me, if your system is calibrated correctly, it should sound great for music and movies, right? You don't need to switch back and forth between 2 different profiles. Yeah.
I agree.
What else? You want to read this one? My voice is getting low.
Yeah, Tim.
Sure. Yeah. If I plan on using an amp for all 9 or 11 speakers, does it matter if I get a Denon 3800H or a more expensive model?
What you think?
Yeah, Tim.
So using that as a preamp, in a sense, it has the full complement of outs, right?
Full complement of what?
11 outs. Pre-outs.
Yeah.
Well, then you might not need a more expensive item then.
Yeah. So you're saying if that has enough channels, then you're pretty much good to go.
Yeah. If it has all the check boxes of features of Dirac, whatever else he needs, or yeah.
I'm with Tim on that one. Let's see here. What else we got? Brian, hey guys, just got some Dyne Audio Evoke speakers, but they don't have any Elevation Atmos speakers. Any advice on what would be a good match for the Dyne Audio? It sounds like he's looking for up-firing ones.
Or ceiling, yeah.
Or ceiling ones?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's tough. I mean, an exact match would be something from Dyne Audio, right?
Yeah, right. For sure. And I don't know that Dyne Audio has a particular sound. I mean, I know they've got the capabilities to do measurements. So whatever it is that they're doing, they can tailor to be exactly what they want it to be every single time. But I don't know if Dyne Audio specifically has a particular sound. So
where's
anything that would
Dyne
be-
Audio from?
Isn't it Danish?
Denmark?
Denmark.
Yeah.
So you got to pair them up with what? Some Dolly. I don't know.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
So at least keep it in the same country. I don't
Exactly.
know. Is
Yeah.
Dolly from there too? Kind of
Possibly.
something with some
Possibly.
scan speak drivers, maybe. Yeah.
Scan speak, Scandinavian, scan speak. Yes.
Just keep it in the same territory.
Something like that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Just
When it
don't
comes
match
to,
it
like,
with.
yeah, don't match it with something that you know is colored. I think try to find something that's neutral. Period. Right. I mean, that's what I would say, regardless of if it matches or not. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
How about at least maybe just don't match it with something that has like a horn. You know what I mean? Like something that's
Yeah.
totally obvious. Like
Something that has a dome tweeter,
yeah,
On a
maybe
flat
try
baffle.
to keep the materials the same.
possibly.
And that's not perfect either, right? But if
Yeah.
you had to guess, just try to do that. Arendelle, close to Denmark.
But they use a waveguide, so
Oh yeah. At the end, that's kind of what good EQ should be doing anyway. Good EQ
Yeah.
should be making your speakers sound more similar than different. You just can't change some of the directivity stuff.
right.
And I don't know that it matters so much for height speakers. It's not as crucial for those. But I think that the Evoke, that's just like I think it's a two-way. I think it has like your favorite surface mounted tweeter, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh no.
Dyne
Flush
Audio.
mount or surface mount?
Hold on, Dyne Audio.
Surely they've got flush mount.
I think it's probably flesh, but
Okay.
otherwise on the
Say.
level of what is that?
Edifier?
Edifier.
Yeah.
Evoke. Which one did he say? Evoke.
It just says evoke.
Okay. So yeah, it's here we go. Got a picture here. Window. Where are we? There it is.
Yeah.
Good looking speakers.
Yeah.
You know what I always
Yeah.
liked on Dyne Audio? How their dust cap has those little like cutouts.
Oh yeah.
Vents
What is
or
that
whatever?
about? Is that a thing? Is that a real thing or just a
I
design?
don't know if that's like a pressure release or if that's to cool the voice coil. I'm not really sure what their particular purpose is.
Oh, okay. It's not gonna make any sounds out of that thing, right?
It shouldn't. I would hope not.
It's a dust cap that lets dust in.
That's right. No, it's a dust capper, so it caps all the dust. Pow, pow, pow.
All right. All right. So
Terrible joke.
hopefully that helps a little bit.
Probably not.
All right, Felly. This is, you guys have any favorite headphone DAC amp combos? Do you guys have any favorite? Oh, yes, twice. Huh?
He loved it so much he repeated it.
It's very
All
exciting.
right. Well, you got to give the answer twice.
I don't have any headphones other than these. I don't have any headphones other than these. You said I got to give the answer twice.
Oh man, got me.
Personally, I like the Shure 840s. They're not hi-fi, they're not high-end, but they are professional. And that's what I use in my live sound mixing when I need just a quick channel check on somebody.
All right.
No, actually, I take that back. I do have these trusty, the Sony's MDR. What are these?
7506.
7506. Yeah, because they're like what, $90.
Yep.
And
Those things hurt after a while, no?
they're all right.
After
Yeah, I don't
you
wear them
for a
too
while.
long.
They
Well,
hurt.
that's why I wear these pretty much all the time now. You know, it's too comfortable.
Headphone DAC amp combo. I don't know. Just get a DAC headphone amp combo that has enough power, right? The only difference I've ever heard is when you're using a device that's so crappy that it doesn't have enough power. Like, yeah, you'll hear a difference in bass, especially if your headphones are hard to drive. I don't know. Other than that, I wouldn't mess around too much and like, just get something that measures well. I don't know. And then for headphones, that's gonna make the biggest difference. I like those inexpensive what are these? AKG K371s. They're inexpensive and they follow the Harman Target headphone curve.
Mm-hmm.
Different than the house curve that I don't recommend people use. But
Yeah.
it does follow the Harman headphone curve, which I think is a good thing for, if you want something that's pretty accurate.
Mm.
Let's see here. What else? The reel again. I'm asking only while the EQ the sub on the DSP. Does Odyssey need to be off? Oh, so his question earlier about, using the mini DSP 2x4 HD and Odyssey, he's asking basically when he's taking the measurement, should Odyssey be off? What do you think about that? It depends. It depends on what you're trying to do. Definitely, I would say make sure it doesn't have any EQ on it. So whether it's on and off, if it doesn't have any EQ applied, it shouldn't make too much of a difference. All it'll change is really the level. But yeah, I would just say make sure that there's no EQ on the sub if you're going to start taking measurements. That's kind of makes sense. What else are you guys saying in here?
I don't know. There was a question about your magic beans
Oh yeah, here.
and REW.
Is this Dr. Roboto?
Dr. Roboto again.
All right. Joe, will the Magic Beans app make use of other tools like SACT, so that's Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit, REW? Will it require a calibrated mic? What can I say about it right now? Because I do know the answers to these questions. I'm just not sure what I'm allowed to say. I guess I'm the owner. I'm allowed to say whatever I want. I don't know if it's what I should say. So yes, it can use the Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit, and it actually makes things easier because if you wanted to calibrate your entire system, meaning height speakers, then I'm going to need to be able to play test tones through those speakers and a specific set of test tones, which are available on the toolkit. If you don't have the toolkit, then you're going to have to kind of swap out wires, to find a way to play the noise that we need, the tones that we need.
Mm-hmm.
So the toolkit is definitely useful for that. REW, it's useful in a sense, kind of like post Magic Beans, to see if the things that we did, the EQ that we applied, is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. And that's something that no automatic EQ seems to do, right? It says, you take a before measurement, it gives you an after prediction, but it never asks you to actually see if it did it correctly. Ours doesn't either, but that's one way you could use REW, is to see, does it follow the target curve that we set? Also, I like to use it because I find that setting your subwoofer levels is crucial to making it sound awesome, right? And now that we're knowing all the weird things that Odyssey can do with the editor app, like sometimes it doesn't do exactly what you want. Multi-Q X is much better, but you want to verify that your subs are in line with your main speakers, right? After you're all done doing this, once you have a target, so we're going to spit out a target curve for your specific room, you can overlay that, right? So you can actually, put that in REW and take a look at it and see, okay, your speakers are following this target curve, but then is your sub high enough in level to also meet that target curve? Once you get that set, then yeah, I know you're going to have awesome sound. So yeah, does it require a calibrated mic? It says there that we recommend using a calibrated mic just because the mics are just better, but we want people to be able to use any mic. even your phone mic, right? The only problem with the phone is, well, the response on these is not good, but we have workarounds for that I'm very proud of, right? That you can use a horrible mic like this. The problem is that, you have to be careful to not clip these mics. The main thing about these is they're really bad when it comes to like high SPL stuff. So, our app doesn't test to see if like, you're clipping, but you should be able to tell because we're offering like a live trace there that shows you. So if you see that thing just flattening out, probably clipping. But yeah, we want it to work with various mics, and it does. All right, what else we got? Ronster. Who likes Monolith versus Dayton 18 Ultimate? Which is best? DIY, GSG, audio, full Marty. What's with everybody spelling today? Is it my COVID, or is everything?
I think it is. I think it's your COVID.
Yeah.
Which is best?
Yeah. Everything else is spelled right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
No, just kidding.
So what's Goliath? Is it Goliath and
right?
Monolith?
Yeah.
It's slow as molasses Monolith.
You say my Monolith got a slow bass?
It's heavy.
Oh,
It's dry bass.
Oh.
You haven't set yours up yet, huh?
They're plugged in. That's about all I can
Oh my
say.
God. You have no excuse. You give me all the grief in the world for stuff that I haven't done yet, and look at you. You have no excuse. I don't want to hear it from you. Not a single word. You get off your computer right now and go at least connect an RCA to them, even if it's not
No,
connected.
they're plugged in. They're plugged in. They're plugged in.
Plugged it, like the power and the RCA is plugged in?
Yeah, XLR, technically.
Okay, so XLR,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And no signals going to it.
They're producing sound. Yes, they are.
Okay, all right. Okay.
But I haven't done Dirac, I haven't done Magic Beans, I haven't done all the other stuff that I could do.
Oh, you might as well be running old Dolby PL2, man.
Yeah, it's running the EQ from the old SVS PB2000
Oh, no.
Pros. So it's all wrong. I mean,
No.
yes.
Joe, I think we're going to have to find a different editor.
Oh, he hasn't even
Oh,
hooked them
ouch.
up. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So to answer his question, I mean,
Gosh, who knows, man? I mean, it depends on application. And frankly, dude, I haven't paid attention to DIY subs in forever. I mean, I built mine for my old theater. I used 18-inch stereo integrities, built in 4 cubic foot enclosures, tuned down to 18 hertz. And the knockdown kits came from DIY Sound Group. So that's where a lot of DIY people know DIY Sound Group. But man, I haven't paid attention to like the full Marnies and the mini Marnies. Now I got a friend who lives up in Indiana who has a pair of the full Marnies, and he says those things will like blow your head off. So that's kind of cool. But I can't personally speak to any kind of comparisons as to what's better. I mean, if you want to build some full Marnies, go for it, dude. Go for
they're
it.
freaking huge, right?
They're freaking huge.
Like ridiculous huge.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Unless the theater's huge, I don't really get the huge sub thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I agree with you, man. I mean, if you're gonna, I could see maybe having like 1 or 2 18s or something like that, and I think it might be better to do that and then mix in some 12s like interspersed throughout the room to help smooth the response down. I mean, that's
like,
just a personal opinion of mine, right? But I kind of
have you seen those mid-bass monitors? I know that's a little side topic, but
yeah, mid-bass modules. That's another DIY Sound Group thing. Yeah,
I was like, MBM, like somebody was talking about MBM, so I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Now we're doing what are we doing now? We're using specific like drivers just for that chest slam, and then they have the picture of that robot that I like alarms go off in my head like, nah, that's BS. You know which one I'm talking about?
Well, I mean,
It's
I'm
like
aware of the mid-bass modules. I've got friends who have built them.
Well, okay. This is a side thing. I'll get to that in a second, but basically, to answer the question, I think a lot of these subs nowadays are all very capable. You know, it's like you can't really go
Right.
wrong with any of them. But the same thing, you know, physics applies, right? So if you make a box that's huge, it's probably gonna have more output capability, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no replacement for displacement. They always say that, right? So
That's
if you
what they
get
say.
something with a huge cone, you're using a huge enclosure, throwing a ton of power at it, it's probably gonna be ridiculous, right? Do you need it? I don't know. Is it gonna make you happy? Maybe. So those are all things that you should take into consideration, right? I can't tell you. Do you want to spend the extra time making it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, to make it look nice is another thing.
Right.
So is it going to be hidden away? Realistically, though, when it comes to the actual performance, I couldn't imagine anybody being unhappy with a lot of the current offerings out right now. You know, unless it has like, you know, the same type of woofer as that JBL that you had with the
Yeah, and you try to use it as a subwoofer.
no
Yeah,
excursion ones.
That's your fault, right? Like if somebody were to do that, that's their fault. They didn't read the manual.
You know what I was thinking of that I would be interested in doing. And I don't know why people don't really do this so much. Maybe they do. But you know, I'm an old school JL audio fan, right? Just because that's what I had in high school, right? Had 3 W6s in my car. And I was thinking like, can't I just get 3 W6s and like make an enclosure and it would come out to what, 4 ohms and then power that with a crazy I don't know.
Yeah,
What a crown
like a
amp.
crown amp or a Behringer or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like a
And
pro
just
audio amp.
DSP
Yeah.
it and be like, damn, I got a set of 3 right here in one corner.
Yeah,
Boom. Another
certainly
set
could.
of 3. Is that not going to sound good?
That's the same thing as like going to Parts Express and finding subwoofers that you want to buy and then just building your own enclosure for them and
Mm.
calling it a day.
It just seems like some of these car audio subs just look ridiculous. Like they're like the home theater ones don't look like they're anywhere even close to this level of like,
Yeah, that is
what
true,
is going
man.
on type of deal.
A lot of the car audio ones are just meant to beat up, right? Like they're meant to avoid having to come back under warranty. So
Yeah. Are they like one note wonders though? A lot of
No,
those are they just
I mean, a
for
lot of them are
SPL?
good. The same thing that holds true with home audio. You just got to build the right enclosure for it, but they just have significant throw. I mean, most of the ones that I've seen that are really good at high SPL just have low sensitivity, so you've got to dump a lot of power into them.
Okay. And you can always just kind of like use some EQ.
Yeah.
Or use some sundown. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, you know, those
Scar
are
audio.
ones like I can see why people say, you know, slow bass. I can see why somebody would say that because when I look at some of these subs, they just look like it's hard to move that cone. Like that thing just looks hard.
Right.
Versus, you know what's crazy? The old JLs though, they didn't look like that, right? They look more like a normal sub. The surround wasn't ridiculous on them. It looked pretty lightweight, but the magnet structure was like pretty huge back in the day.
Well, like some of these guys that are running near field subwoofers for their home theater setups, the one thing that I keep thinking would be a good use for them would be the shallow subwoofers for the car audio market. You know, because a lot of car audio subwoofers, they have to use shallow subs because they don't want them to take up a lot of room, or they put them underneath the seat or, you know, behind the wall in their extended cab truck or something like that, right? So I thought, I'm surprised I don't see more slim subwoofers from the car audio side of things used as near field subwoofers in home audio.
I wonder if it has to do with what I was asking you about earlier, where it's like, it seems like the chase for 20 hertz in home audio is way more than what I hear from car audio guys, where if I look at the tuning for most of the subs, it's like they're usually aiming for like 30, 32 hertz,
right?
You know, and it's like 32. That's
pretty typical, right?
Yeah. The rest, right?
Right.
And you kind of explained, you know, why don't you explain what you explained?
Cabin gain. Car audio has benefits a lot from cabin gain, a lot more than a home, because it's such a smaller environment. You know, like a car is so much smaller in cubic feet compared to a typical room. You get a lot of free bass out of it, and usually you start getting a gain of around like 70 or 80 hertz, and from there it'll start increasing at about 12 dB per octave. So, it kind of depends, right, where you put the subwoofer. It's the same thing as a room. There's going to be modes and things like that, but you still get a lot of free lunch in car audio. You can build an enclosure to be rolled off at 50 hertz and still get down to 30 hertz in a car without much issue.
Now, why is it that when I used to have these crazy subs, right, in the car, why was it that I had like better bass if I rolled the windows down? Did I ask that before?
You increase the size of the enclosure. Yeah.
Is that really what it is?
I mean, some of it, I think, like you can crack open the door. I used to play around with this stuff and I can't remember any of the results, but I used to play around with like, well, what happens if you just like crack open the door? You're like, don't close it all the way. Just leave it like semi-sealed and you can see differences. And then if you, move the subwoofer from the front of the trunk to the rear of the trunk on the side or this side, move it around and things like that, you can definitely see differences.
I thought it was acting as like a port or something like
I mean, it could be. It's an enclosure inside an enclosure, right? Yeah. Like it's the same thing as if you go and open up the door to your room when you're listening to whatever it is in your home theater. You're going to change the overall size of the room. So I don't know exactly what that's going to do. It would depend on location, right? But it will definitely change.
Yeah, that's interesting because it kind of felt like the bases didn't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
And when you open the window, it lets it go out. So that means it gets through, like it actually is able to pass through. And that kind of goes back to what the guy was asking about earlier, if he switched the polarity, because that's the idea behind some of this new stuff that I've seen with the double bass arrays.
Yeah.
Where, the sound comes in and then the other ones almost like cancel it.
Yeah. Like are you talking about like the force canceling subwoofer enclosure, or are you talking about something else?
No, it's double bass array, I think is what it's called, where basically they have like two subs in the front, four subs is what I've seen. I've seen two. I think they have them spaced at a quarter of the way in for a specific reason.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have the same thing in the rear, right? Same setup. And somehow it's kind of like it's allowing the entire wave to pass through by like canceling it when it gets to the back.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of like it hits the back and then you're gonna get a cancellation off of it coming back.
Yeah.
Off all the walls, something like that. I haven't looked into it, so I can't pretend like I know what I'm saying. Anyway,
that's good enough for me.
What 876 Oprah Winfrey, guys, what are your thoughts on pairing a small sub with a bigger sub, say a 12 and a 15?
Okay. I mean, like anything else, it depends, right? Like that's the unfortunate thing about all this stuff is we can theorize what's going to happen, but it's going to depend on what the subs are, where you put them in the room, the enclosure design, all of that stuff matters. But I mean, if somebody's saying, would you do it? Sure. If I had a need, like space were a concern, right? I couldn't fit another pair of 15s, but I could fit some 12s in there. Sure. If my goal was to do something specific and those 12s did it, right? They're not going to get as low as the 15s, but you may not need them to. You may not have the kind of modal issues you do at the very lowest of frequencies. Like let's just say, for example, below 30 hertz, whereas maybe 30 to 80 hertz, you've got some modal issues that your front two subwoofers alone, your front two 15 alone are causing, right? But now you need some way to kind of offset that, to smooth out the response. And you're thinking, man, I can't afford another set of 15s, or I don't have space for another set of 15s. Could I use 12s? Yes, you can. Just like anything else, it's going to come down to placement. It's going to come down to overall tuning. But theoretically, there's no reason at all why you couldn't use another set of subwoofers that are not the same size, as long as you understand why you're trying to use them and the limitations of those subwoofers.
Yeah. Let me just think. In a practical sense, I think if you're using a mini DSP, it shouldn't be a problem, especially if you're EQing each one individually. I think the only issue you may have is if like they're in the same, let's say in the same, like one's in the left corner and the other one's in the right corner. And if the 12, let's say, is less capable and you're kind of treating them as if they're the same, well, you may find that the 12 is gonna give out earlier than the 15. But you should really account for those things, right?
Right. That should be what you know. You should know that going into it. Like, let's say that you have two subwoofers that are identical, except one's smaller, right? Then the idea is probably with the smaller one, you're not going to have the low end capability. So let's say instead of rolling off at 20 hertz, let's say the 15 rolls off at 20 hertz and it's in a sealed enclosure at 12 dB per octave, and the 12-inch rolls off at 30 hertz at 12 dB per octave. You're just not going to have the same reinforcement below 30 hertz because they're different sizes. I mean, that's the most simplest way you could look at it.
But then if you have that 12, let's say near field, and you have it, right? If it's close to you, now it doesn't have to play as loud as that 15 that's all the way across the room because it's right next to you. So this is what Aaron's saying is like, it really depends. Like,
it really does. There's so much gray area in this hobby. I mean, there really is. It's kind of like a pet peeve of mine, just to get a little bit OT, is when questions like this are asked and people give a definitive answer, that person probably has no idea what they're talking about. Like, seriously, if they give just like a one-size-fits-all, stick it in a shoebox and put it in the closet kind of answer, they probably don't really know what they're talking about. Because this stuff it can get very complicated, right? And you really have to look at it in piece parts and kind of go down the rabbit hole that way. Anyway, so that's my side rant.
I hope people who watch this see that we're, questioning certain things. It's not that we're not confident in what we're saying. I don't want people to think about it like that, because I see other, reviewers in different spaces where they're so definitive, right? Every answer is like as if like for sure this is the answer, right? And the problem is it might not be the correct answer in every single situation. They just wanted to come off authoritative. And I don't care to be like that. I would rather find you the right answer for you, right? And kind of tell you when it wouldn't work and when it would work, So hopefully it comes off like that. I guess the only thing that I would look out for is, when they say like mixing sealed and ported, just because the phase shift that happens at the port tuning, it would be something that you'd have to be, you'd have to be careful of, right? Just because you're going to want to EQ them in a way where you kind of take into account that interference that could happen where the port tuning
for me, the question would be, why would you want two different subs? Like, why would you just not go ahead and get the same subs? That's the question that I have when these kind of questions come up, So I just, other than the example like I gave where maybe you don't have the budget or you don't have the space for something else, like, why not just go ahead and get two of the same thing? And then you don't have to worry. If it's a concern of yours, you don't have to worry about it. It's off your brain.
What else? What other ones we got here? We'll take a few more. Let's see. I'm going to pick from these. Any of them you find interesting there? And then we'll pop into the after show after this. I will.
Don't see any in particular for me.
How about we'll just run through them real fast then.
How about that one? I feel you could probably answer that one.
No, nothing. Any recommendations for the smallest speaker you feel comfortable using for an Atmos speaker? It would end up being down on wall and angle down. Should I sound definitive and authoritative?
6-inch.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
6-inch concentric.
Done.
No. It depends on the size of the room, right? Depends on how far you are from that speaker, and it depends on how loud you expect to listen, right? These height speakers are capable of playing full range content, right? So if you had a full range speaker up there, it's possible to play something in there that's 20 hertz. Is it likely that that's what people are doing? Probably not. Even if they did, that's what bass management is for, right? So, yeah, I like I like the Monolith THX compact satellites, and these are 4.5-inch drivers, right? In my 20 by 20 by 9 theater, that's fine. Like I've never heard those like make any bad sounds, right? And I've turned off my subs, I've turned off all the other speakers, and I've played test tones and I played it louder than I would normally listen. And I was looking out to hear if if I was causing them to distort, and I didn't have that issue because they're crossed over at 80 hertz. And it's actually in a space that's larger than what they would recommend. But that works for me, right? So I would say it all comes down to what the size of your room is probably one of the main things, and how far you are from the speaker, right? Yeah, without knowing those things, I can't tell you exactly, right? If you tell me you have a theater that's the size of an actual theater, then maybe not use the 4.5 inch, maybe that's not such a great idea.
Probably
Tell me
not.
it's in your bedroom. Yeah. Get the 4.5 inch ones all day. So yeah. That's that. What else we got here? Run through these real quick. Somebody's asking about the Emotiva Bass X A3. I've never heard one, never used it. I hear a lot of good things, but they never send me stuff, so I don't know.
Yeah, I can't really comment on that particular either.
Yeah. How about this one? Can you run full stereo sound on both towers and 2 subs on mini DSP 2x4? Hold on, I gotta read this. Can you run full stereo sound on both towers and 2 subs on mini DSP 2x4, or do I need to buy one for sub and one for towers? Well, okay, so the 2x4. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, I think he's just running towers and 2 subs, so yes, it would work, right? Because you're just using the 2x4 as a crossover between the 2 and EQ.
Yeah, so the limitation is the 2 inputs, right?
Yep.
So that's left and right.
Yep.
And yeah, and then you have 4 outputs, so 2 towers and 2 subs.
Yeah. I think that's what he's asking. Yeah.
I think you should be fine. I'm just trying to remember if you can't. Well, yeah, you can route stuff on the 2x4 HD. I'm just wondering if is it gonna work like the sub has to be the left sub and the right sub. But yeah, overall, just generally speaking, yes, you can do that.
I think you do. It would have to be left and right, because you're just, like I say, just crossing over left channel and right channel, and there you go.
Yeah, well, I guess for the subs, you can make it play mono left and right content.
Can you?
Yeah, in the 2x4 HD, there's an
you can.
option where you can set, let's say channel
mixer,
3 and 4, right? Channel 3, you can tell it to pull from, input 1 or input 1 and input 2. So
I didn't know you could do that.
all right. Let's take this as the last one. Let's see here. Same thing, kind of about the A3. He has an Outlaw 5000X. I think that's probably the same, very similar to the OSD one. They didn't want me to say that for some reason, but I think it's the same, right? I don't know, but from what I've seen as far as the internals, they look very similar. Let's just say that. Running my front stage beautifully for my 3800H. Okay. The A3 has considerably more power, so should be set with that. Okay, so this is just in response to Marv. Very cool. Let's see here. Quick plugs for our audio-only version of the podcast, anchor.fm/daily HiFi. Tim, you make sure to put these.
They go up on Wednesday, just so everybody knows.
On Wednesday, so make sure to
morning.
check those out.
Yeah.
What else? Our after show. So if you want to support this podcast that we do every Monday, we just do this for fun. As you can tell, we're just here to kind of like get together, answer some questions. It's part of my Monday routine to make sure that I'm on track.
Yeah.
So you guys help me out too.
Yeah, I got to keep Joe on track.
Yep. Otherwise, I'm all over the place. But yeah, if you want to support, it definitely helps. go to patreon.com/daily HiFi. We have an after show, and it supports everything that we do. You know, Tim, he does all the editing. He does an awesome job on that. And yeah, hopefully you guys are also having a good time, you know, listening. So that's it. I have to go pee because I've been drinking all kinds of stuff to stay hydrated.
Ooh, Gatorade. Gatorade.
But yeah, I'll see you guys in the after show.
All right,
See ya.
later.
All right. See ya.
Peace out.